Hello! Last vlog, we discussed that the turn and talk and think pair share can develop more than just listening and speaking skills in our second language learners. Teachers can craft their turn and talk questions and engage the globals in content-rich conversations that result in complex sentence structures. Well, let's talk about it this week as well. Here's another example of differentiating teacher questions for turn and talk. Let's say that you just taught your young learners various landforms, valley, mountain, desert, and ocean, and their characteristics. You're going to use turn and talk now to help your students further process their learning and also to check their understanding of the lesson. So, let's differentiate teacher questions based on a depth of knowledge or DOK level by Dr. Webb and see how your students' language outcome will change in rigor and complexity. But before that, can we review the different DOK levels and what they mean? Level 1 is recall and reproduce. That means that student tasks require them to simply recall knowledge and skills that they learned. So, here's an example of the teacher question on DOK level 1. The teacher can point to a picture and say, tell your partner what this landform is. Here, your student's language outcome would be, it is a mountain. Is. They would be identifying a landform as mountain. Here's another teacher question for DOK level 1. Tell your partner what you would see in the desert. Your student's language outcome would be, in the desert, I see dry land, shrubs, and cactus. Here, your students would be describing a desert, and this is another recall activity for what they just learned. Well, next, let's take teacher questions to another level, DOK level 2. Level 2 tasks usually require more than simply recalling what they learned in the lesson. The level 2 tasks require students to massage what they learned and process it at higher order thinking levels such as comparing, summarizing, grouping and classifying and applying it in different contexts. So, here's an example of DOK level 2 question. If you can take 3 things with you when you go to a mountain, what would you take and why? Your student's language outcome would be something like this. Well, first, I will take good hiking shoes because in a mountain the trails is uphill with gravels. And next, I will take a can of bug spray maybe because your students would be applying what they learned in the lesson to a real life situation. Here's an example of DOK level 2 question as well. How is an ocean different from a river? Your student's language outcome would be, an ocean is larger than a river. Ocean water is salty, but the river water is not salty. Waves are bigger in the ocean than in the river. Your students would be comparing what they already learned about ocean and river in many aspects. Here is yet another example of a level 2 question. If there were an insect that could survive in both the desert and ocean, what would it look like? Your student's language outcome would be, this insect would have thick body coverings to keep water inside the body in the desert so it won't die, and to keep it floating in water. The insect eats ants in the desert and maybe small insects in water. Here, your students would be creating something using the knowledge that they learned in the lesson, such as learning about landforms of desert and ocean. Here's the last example of a level 2 teacher question. Class, if you get to build your house in one of these landforms, where would you build it and why? Your student language outcome would be, I think that the mountain is the best place for me to build my house because the air is clean and I can find plenty of food there. I can also cut trees to build my house and burn them for cooking or something. And it's not too hot like desert and not crowded like, an ocean or something. Your students would be evaluating or making decisions based on the knowledge of what they learned about all these landforms. Now, what have you noticed about your students' language outcomes as they move from responding to level 1 to level 2 questions? You've noticed that the higher the DOK level of the teacher question is, the longer and more complex the student language outcome becomes. Of course, teacher questions in DOK level 1 level, is very important and necessary. However, if the level 1 question is all our students receive, then our students' classroom speech would be short and simple always, possibly just like chunked words or phrases. This is a good example of classroom teacher becoming a language teacher for her second language learners. The classroom teacher becomes a language teacher when she's mindful of students' language outcome during a learning activity like turn and talk. As classroom teachers purposefully build academic language in second language learners through strategies like turn and talk, they are more equipped to participate in rigorous discussions and demonstrate their learning in class. When a classroom teacher plans in advance what types of academic language she wants her language learners to develop and how she can facilitate that learning during the lesson, she is teaching her globals to access the academic rigor that they need to succeed in school. Thank you for watching my vlog. In next vlog, we'll talk about how we can integrate sentence frames to support the global speech when they may not have the necessary language to express their ideas during turn and talk. Thank you for teaching your globals. You're making a world of difference in their lives. Thank you.